Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Xavier Bergen.
And I'm Stella Meghie. Thank you for coming.
So, she's a blind script deal at Warner Brothers, a pilot in development with John's World Production, a comedy option by DT, and a deal to pen a feature script with VH1. Y'all, give us some love. Give us some love. Okay, here's where I like to start off with everything. What made you decide to move from a career in public relations for beauty brands to filmmaking?
I hated my job.
Okay. okay, that's a great way to do it.
And I loved writing.
So going back from that, what drew you to this story?
I have a very big family of women. My family's Jamaican. Very loud women, very kind of dry, cutting, aggressive, abrasive, loving women. And all the characters are kind of based on someone in my family.
Okay, got you. So, based on that, how did your background with your family, how did that inspire you to make this film? How did you take that and put it into this film?
I just hear their voices in my head, like the grandmother character constantly. The grandmother character is based on my grandmother and my aunt Jean, and my mom is always in every movie. And growing up Jamaican with Jamaican, family in Toronto, a lot of West Indians in Toronto and Canada, and just putting that kind of dry humor that I was used to, that I hadn't really seen out there into the film.
Got you. Great. So the next thing I want to follow up with that is with the current landscape of Hollywood right now, what does it feel like to be not only a successful, writer and director, but a successful Black woman in this industry?
It feels good. It feels good. It took a long time to make Jean, and then for it to have a great response to it, and to be able to do more since, I just, it feels good, and I guess rare.
Okay, got you. It's beautiful. Just one of the things, it's great to see a Black woman out here doing what you're doing and excelling like this. So, just thank you. But going on farther, so what I want to ask next is, what was the process of getting this made, getting this funded?
Right. Well, it was a long process. I think I finished the first draft in 2010. And I proceeded to do really after school, just a lot of fellowships, Tribeca, All Access and Nantucket, and a bunch of, I just submitted it and had mentor after mentor, and it was helpful and kind of a calling card, but it wasn't getting it funded. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to try my hand at TV, so I adapted it into a pilot and started taking meetings around town with the TV version of it, which I was getting traction, and I was getting a lot of meetings off of that. And that led to me kind of selling some TV stuff, and then kind of getting my feet wet there and becoming, a quote unquote professional writer helped me kind of, I think, give people the confidence to give me some money towards Jean. And so I'm Canadian, and I got some Canadian financing in. I feel like after how many years of trying to get it funded, you just get very bold. And I think I just remember going in for a meeting, to pitch to get Jean, and just lying and just kind of saying, I had a certain amount of, these people are interested, and they jumped on board. And then TV One came in the clutch and gave me half the financing, and it's something they had never done really, you know, supporting an indie film. And you just never know, you know. The market's kind of wide open right now, and people are trying different things. So it went from like, you know, 6 years of no funding to like, oh, we're shooting in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So, you know, coming back to the landscape and how right now, like, for a lot of like, you know, Black and POC filmmakers, it's hard to get your voice out there and to tell the stories authentically how you want to. And what I want to ask you is, did you ever run into any situations where, you know, folks were interested in this, they wanted to fund it, they wanted to get it off the ground, but they wanted to, like, you know, change your vision or change your story? And how did you deal with that?
I mean, I think for the most part, people were receptive. I think they were concerned there was no audience. I did go through some bad notes. There's always bad notes of like, keep the grandfather alive longer. I was like, it's about the women. And, you know, or they don't seem Black enough, you know. Yeah.
Talk about that.
You know, I there was one producer that I had as a mentor, and I just was really excited to work with her, and she's a great producer, but she was like, this doesn't seem specific to like the African American experience. Like on the page, she was just like, this seems like my family in Minnesota. And I was like, that's the point. Like, I was like, they didn't grow up in a war-torn, you know, refugee stat. Like, they lived in Fort Greene, they're upper middle class. Like, I'm sure they are somewhat similar to your family. So that was one of the more disappointing, I think, comments.
Well, going past that, you know, what I like to ask now is like, what is your writing process like? You know, how did you, you know, come to create this and to write it and put it out there? And just tell us about like how you write your stories.
I mean, my writing process is, I guess, pretty strict when I'm writing. You know, I take to it like a job. like a job, you know. It feels like it's not sometimes when you're not getting paid for it, but just I like to wake up early and write for 8 hours until a script is done, and I like to write quickly and have a page count for the day, and then go back later and make it good.
Okay. So keep going further. Like, you had an amazing ensemble cast, and they did a phenomenal job. And I just, absolutely,
they were fantastic.
Yes. And I just like to know, like, what was your process in finding these actresses? Like, how did you know these were the right people for your film?
I mean, each role was maybe casted differently. Like, you know, for Taylor to start, you know, that was an open call. Like, we had a few people who we'd had one actress attached, and she fell away. And then and then I had offered it to a few other girls, and they just kept passing. And then so we did a casting in New York and LA, and saw like a lot of girls. And Taylor walked in, and she was just perfect. I mean, and she didn't know her lines. She was a mess. She was a mess. She was like, oh, I'm sick. I had bad cranberries from Trader Joe's. And I was like, is she drunk? Like, and I was like, she's perfect. But, you know, she like was not prepared. She wasn't going to come in because she said she felt sick. And I don't know, she was just like messing up, and she like did a pirouette and said, let me take that back. And I was like, that's Jean. Like, we can work on the lines. Like, you can't work on all this mess, you know? And so I cast her, and then, like, I was like, what am I doing? This could end badly. But she knew all her lines all the time on set, and she was fantastic, and she had that raw comedy that I was looking for. because it was just important that like these characters were funny, you know, that these actors were funny. And you know, Sherry Shepherd, like I was just very like sure she could do it. And I remember like some of the folks at the network were like, why would you think she'd be good for this role, you know? And like because they saw her, she's the more serious character of the bunch, and they were like, Sherry's the funny one, you know? And I was just like, I just know she'll find the funny bits of this serious character. And I just instinctively felt like she would bring what I needed, and she did. And she was like the most awesome person to work with. And then Erica, I just offered it to as well, because I love her from Survivor's Remorse. And, you know, I just tried. And who else? Michelle Hurst was awesome. She actually auditioned. And her Jamaican accent was pretty good. And I just thought she's very funny, and she just had that kind of classy thing that I wanted, but like humorous. And then I sent her to meet with my godmother to like refine her accent. It's just such a great cast, but all of them were kind of different process to cast.
Great. That's great to hear. So one of the things I think is amazing about your film is that you have the ability to skirt between, you know, like just levels of comedy that's hilarious, and then, you know, coming back and there's like a very honest and, you know, dramatic feel to it. Like you're able to jump between those two so well. And I just want to ask you, like, you know, how did you go about, like, you know, forming that to understand when it needs to be hilarious, when it needs to be honest, when it needs to be dramatic? Like, tell us about that.
I mean, I just try to be as honest as I can in the writing, and just like how would I really feel in this moment. And like, you know, I think one of the things like I take from my family is like it could be the darkest moment and we'll find someone will say something stupid, you know, like disrespectful, and you'll just laugh. And so I definitely, like, you know, with this it was just always that. And in dark moments, like in the wake, like finding those moments of levity to like bring it back up, you know, whether it's like adding in Erica snoring a little higher in the mix, or, you know, like the shot of Ray in the back just lost, you know, this like just to like count, you know, because I'm always kind of running away from this the seriousness sometimes, you know. I'm always running away from the drama, because really I'm a comedy writer at heart. So trying to get those beats of honesty in, but then bringing it back up.
So just piggybacking on that, I'd like to know, when your family first got to see this, what was their reaction to it?
They loved it. They didn't see themselves in it at all. Like, they were like, who's that? Where did you get this? I'm like, I don't know. So, but they were also supportive, and, you know, they went to like the whole like family went to TIFF. We had like just blocks in the theater.
Beautiful. So I guess another thing I want to ask, just on a general basis, what advice would you give to other Black women directors who are out there who are trying to get, you know, their projects off the ground?
Just to be persistent and be specific in your storytelling, you know. Tell the stories you really want to tell and be unapologetic about it, and don't be afraid of nobody.
No, I love that. I actually want to bring that back up. Like, for you, what does it mean to be unafraid to tell your story?
I guess to not worry about how people will read it or view it, and, you know, to do what feels right in your gut, you know, because people are going to tell you to change this or change that, or it'll be funnier like this, or, you know, you shouldn't cast that person. And you just have to go with your gut, and, you know, you might not make the right choices, but try to make it right in the end.
Good, beautiful. So going back, you know, specifically to actually being in production, could you tell us like just one of those days where everything was just going crazy and you just had to figure out things like on the fly? Like, you know, give us one of your moments when you were in the trenches.
I mean, I was telling you backstage about like I feel like it was, we only shot for 17 days on Gene, and we had a lot to shoot, and we didn't have a lot of prep. We had 2 weeks prep, literally, like 2 weeks prep, and we started falling behind after like a week. I was like, I didn't have a shot list. Like, it was just, and our locations, one of our locations we just started not having locations, like not falling out. Like, it was catching up with us, the lack of prep that we had. And one day we woke up without a location for the whole day. And we hadn't been able to get it together and find, I don't know, we shot that day, like the scene with the dancer, the scene, like the self-help scene, like the Michelle dancing upstairs with her lover. Like, we had like stuff to shoot that day, and we woke up without a location. And me and my line producer he just picked me up at like 6:30, and we drove to this hotel that was like very artist friendly, and we just worked out a deal, and we shot there all day. But like, when we woke up, we didn't have anywhere to shoot.
So just going into that, like, how do you feel, for yourself when you get into these situations? Like, how do you handle adversity?
I mean, I just try to stay calm and ask for exactly what I need. Like, you just can't really get flustered, really. Like, you have to steer the ship. And you have to be specific about what you need and kind of just demand it of the people around you, even though it's impossible. Threaten people, no. Talk to my line producer about that. Yeah, I just try to stay calm and try to stay, make people feel safe and feel like the movie will go on, and it'll and feel comfortable. Like, I just try to be as in charge as possible. If that's a good answer.
That's a great answer. So, again, piggybacking off of what you just said, what is your process when dealing with actors and actresses? Like, what is your specific way of getting the performances that you need from them?
I mean, I think it's different with every actor, like me and Taylor had like a weird shorthand where we were always saying dumb stuff to each other. Like, we had this stupid thing where we'd be like, reach for it, grab it, get it, like just, because she was young and we were always just bumping. Like, I guess a good story is like the like romantic scene between Taylor and Mamadou, and like, they were so different. Like, they were such different people. And, Taylor was nervous. And so I was in the back listening to like Travis Scott having like a sip of whiskey with her, like, and then Mamadou's like listening to classical, and I'm like talking through the mechanics of, choreography of it, like, and it's just because that's what he needed, but she needed to just chill, like, and so I feel like it's just different with everyone, and just trying to make, give what you need to the actor what they need, because I feel like everybody needs something different, so just trying to be present, and understand what's working and what's not working, and let people do their thing. When like Erica, like, she's a improv genius, like, who played Anne, and so I just let her do her thing, and she would be like, can I try this? And I would just be like, yeah, try it. Like, whereas Gloria Rubin was the non-comic of the group, so like, she couldn't really try her thing, like because the comedy chops weren't there necessarily. So, but like, working with her to make the scene work for her too, but in a different way. I couldn't necessarily just be like with Erica, yeah, go hit the car, like, do whatever like, so it's I just think you have to be present and be what each actor needs, like, and also get across what you need from them. So learning to communicate,
So, one of the things we have right now is we're seeing a lot of great, black films out. We're seeing Moonlight, Fences, Hidden Figures, and, we're seeing, so many people a lot of times will say that, like, black faces on screen can't sell. They can't find audiences. Yet here you are finding audiences who love what you're doing and love this film. So can you just talk about the importance of seeing black faces?
I mean, it's so important. I mean, right now, like, I jumped into a completely different movie with everything that I finished shooting, and that's with Amanda Stenberg as the lead. And like the amount of teens tweeting me and Instagramming and just so happy to see their own faces, like in a trailer with Beyonce in the background. And it's just important to be able to see yourself, That's why when I would watch this at the very start, I was like, man, like, I want someone to make something like this for me, because it's just like you have that one. I mean, like growing up, when I was 16, like I loved Love Jones, and I used to watch it like every day of the week, because there wasn't a lot of movies like that, and I saw myself in Nina and like someone wanting to become that woman, and like, you need that. You need that.
Absolutely great. So I think just one more question, and essentially what I want to just know from you is like specifically your direction as an artist, like from this point forward, like what are the things that you want to make, what are the things that you want to see, what are the statements that you want to say to the world with your work?
I mean, I feel like I'm not a good statement person or message person, but I just want to make enjoyable, films that people feel good about, that make them feel good, that represent me and people who look like me, but can be enjoyed by everybody, So very specific films that reach a wide audience, I guess.
That's beautiful. So just finishing up, is there anything else that you would like to leave with this audience, that you would like to just, last little quote, a piece of inspiration from what you've been able to do?
I mean, if you don't feel like you're able to tell the stories that you want to tell because of the lack of opportunities, tell your own stories. I didn't, Gina the Joneses was the first time I ever directed anything. I was a writer. I stepped on set for the first time with no experience other than maybe a PA on a friend's short. So, take a chance and do your research and figure out the story you want to tell and how you want to tell it, and be diligent, but tell your own stories if the stories you want to tell are not there.
I can give her a round of applause right now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.